Hey everybody, I am Bill Kleyman, EVP of Digital Solutions over at Switch, and we're gonna have a little bit of a conversation here. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna talk about careers, we're gonna talk about life after high school. I graduated in 2002, class of 2002, from Niles West High School. Now, if you're looking at this from Niles North, it's okay. I still like you. I know that one of my favorite teachers, Mrs. Attic, teaches over there as well, so that's totally cool. I am 36 years old. I am a millennial. Really interesting. But you can't blame anything else on me anymore. Now it's all on you, and it's all these Gen Zs out there that are now shaping and shifting the world to make it a better and more awesome place. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I work at a company called Switch, and if you are like me, you probably have like 3 different browsers open, and you are welcome to take a look at what Switch does. You can take a look at our Twitter handle and so on, but basically we help develop and design literally the world's largest and most advanced data center ecosystems, housing a lot of the stuff that you use every day for like streaming services, applications, your really cool phone device, etc. As their executive vice president of digital solutions, I have a really cool job. I get a chance to work with all different kinds of teams, everything from marketing, business, our promotional teams, really advanced technology teams, what we do with application development, robotics, drones, and so much more. We're not a data center company, I should say. We're a technology company that gets a chance to work with some really, really cool things. If you ever go to our website, take a look at the very top. You'll see robotics, edge, cloud, and so much more. And if you're ever curious about what that really means and what it does, you can send me a direct message. I'll be happy to answer that a little bit more. What led me to this current venture? I love technology. I love technology from the very first day. Actually, that's what I went to school for. I got a network engineering degree as an undergrad. Then I got a master's in business, concentrating in marketing, and another master's in information security management. And I love tech, and I love really complex and advanced topics, and I love explaining it to people so they can understand the value of tech, our industry, this digital society they experience every single day. And I love inspiring folks to really understand what they can do with these tools to make the world a little bit better. To give you an example, we at Switch, just to give you an example, just recently deployed the world's largest solar plus battery array. We're actually using Tesla megapacks to make that happen. Now, this is the world's largest solar and battery array, and it's also behind the grid. That means that we're not actually plugging into the traditional power grid that you and I are so used to. Why is this special? For the first time ever, we're capturing the power of the sun, putting them in advanced batteries, not the kind of stuff that you might have like in a phone or something else, but really, really cool machines to capture the power of the sun and never lose it once the sun sets, with capabilities that can power the cities of San Francisco, for example, for 6 hours straight up on battery. It's really, really special tech, and we're paving the way for how people use this kind of green technology. That's what gets me excited when we are leveraging these kinds of tools to do some really, really extraordinary things. Some of the skills that really have led me to be successful is obviously communication is going to be really important. The one thing that I recommend everybody do is learn the language of business. Wherever you work, if you strive to be quiet, live under a rock, make sure that nobody notices you, no one's going to notice you, and that's going to be your career. And listen, if you're an engineer and if you want to focus on something very specific, that's totally fine. But do not be afraid to be vocal. Talk about your ideas. Talk about your new kind of concepts. As a millennial manager and executive, I constantly work with the teams who are under me, whether they're engineers, business leaders, marketing, finance, whatever the case is, and they talk about their ideas to me, and we have an open door, an open mechanism for them to share whatever that they might have. The other thing that I really want to make sure everyone realizes is that never be complacent in anything that you do. Always be willing to learn and always evolve yourself. And you make sure that you work in an environment where that can be supported, right? Don't work in an ecosystem that somebody says, you got to break them down just to build them back up. That's really not how I work, and certainly not how a lot of you work either. You want to learn and you want to be in a collaborative environment. The one thing that I've learned in working with Gen Zs, let me back up a little bit. Another organization that I work with actually called iMasons, Infrastructure Masons. You can check those folks out as well. We actually do a lot of scholarships for high school and college folks that are students who are attending school. And in that organization, I'm actually the chairperson for the Millennial and the Gen Z Resource Group, and I'm on the advisory council. And this organization is comprised of like Google and Microsoft, Facebook, huge executives from organizations all over the world. And my job is to actually work with high school students, talk to them, and understand what they need. And here's what I learned about you guys listening to this, you wonderful people that are going to be shaping the future of the world. You are different than me. Gen Z, the generation that's coming up, is fundamentally different than what I required to be successful, right? Where we were some of the pioneers of digital infrastructure, right? We're using DMs, using Facebook, these digital tools. You were born into it. And what's fascinating is that you listening, the Gen Z population that's already entering the workforce, you were supposed to be the penultimate balance between digital collaboration and in-person communication. All of a sudden, that's all been turned upside down with these really weird COVID times. We'll talk about that in just a second. It's interesting to note that, some of these skills that I've learned throughout my life is that I've always surrounded myself with people that were smarter than me. There's really no secret about it. And you have to be both empathic and have levels of humility. Never walk into a room and think you're the smartest person in there. Never do that, because there's always somebody who knows more than you. Everybody in this planet, the person sitting next to you, the person watching this video with you, is going to know something that you don't, which makes them kind of smarter than you, right? Or at least have some kind of a piece of information that you might not have. So always be willing to ask questions and always be willing to interact with people. Even when I was a young executive, I had a chance to be a CTO of one of the largest virtualization and cloud companies, a private consulting firm here in the United States. And I was young. I was naive, and I had so many wonderful questions, but I was never afraid to ask them. And I wasn't afraid to fail because the people around me supported me to get back up and then try even better and learn from those mistakes. Believe me, I failed. A lot of people have, but staying down is not the way to go. Getting up and being surrounded by people who can support you is the right mechanism. Even when I was younger, I wasn't afraid to ask questions, even silly ones, because I was learning from all of this and I was sponging it, right? So you want to get in front of your executives. I love the young people, whether you're 18, 19, 17, 20, 22, however old you are. If you come to me and you share an idea, you're going to get a spot in my office, or in an office that, for my executive leadership as well. We need to hear the voices of the future generation. So don't think that your voice doesn't matter. We want to hear from you 100%. It's interesting that there's a question of what I wish I would have known in high school that I know now. I thought about this question quite a bit, and I tried to answer it. You feel like you know everything in high school, like you're invincible, like you know what the world has in store for you. But reality is that there's a lot of really interesting things in this world. And my one big recommendation, and I wish I maybe would have done this a little bit more, is that even though you can see that I'm a very personable individual, I could have been even more so. Networking at a young age was critical, or is critical. Developing your online persona is really, really important. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, whatever you want to do. Now, the one thing that I can tell you that I wish I knew, even though I was very, very careful about it, is that stuff's permanent. You want to talk about a permanent record? What you put online, your digital persona, it's going to be out there. And if I'm going to be hiring you, and when you were 16 or 17 or 18, you posted something that was highly inappropriate, I'm gonna ask you about it, right? And that's going to give me reservation in terms of hiring you, even potentially, even though you maybe have grown. There's a challenge behind that, because it illustrates a part of your personality and what you've decided to post out there that you thought was proper. So be careful. If that's the one thing you can take away as you build out your online identity, your digital identity, which is going to be there forever. Even if you think you deleted that tweet, I can promise you I can get it back. Be careful in what you post out there. I think that's a really important thing to note as you kind of go into your career. Another important note is, again, don't be afraid to ask questions and surround yourself with people who know more, or who can illuminate you in terms of what's happening in the industry. DECA, the Distributed Education Club of America, is a wonderful mechanism to do that. I participated for a couple of years. I won state in several events. We went to the international competition and placed, I believe it was like top 20 in the world. I think we actually were in 16 in sports entertainment marketing. And it was a blast. And we surrounded ourselves with people who knew more. We could ask them questions, and they could give us insight into what they do every single day and what could improve for us as well. As a high school student, it could be scary to ask these questions of people who you think are like super busy, but it's a small world, remarkably small world, and you can get the ears of executives and ask them questions, get insight from them, and learn to become a more effective person, and regardless of what career you ultimately go into. It's interesting that one of the questions I wanted to answer is, what does my workday look like now versus what it used to look like before? I live in Skokie. We'll call it just Chicago, but everyone's familiar with that area. My office is actually in Las Vegas. Beautiful location. I've got mountains out the window and apartments, and it's great. It's not on the strip. It's off strip, and it's a beautiful facility. I haven't been in that office since March, unfortunately, because obviously I haven't been traveling. I used to live on an airplane. I'll tell you right now, when I was traveling in my office in Las Vegas, I knew where I would sit. I knew the flight crew's names. I knew where my car was parked, where my apartment was, and how far I had to drive to get to work. And I would travel all over the world. This year specifically, remarkably, I was supposed to be on 5 different continents, but I'm not. So I'm doing all of this stuff virtually. How has it been? It's been pretty good. Working out more, sleeping a little bit more, spending more time with my family. It's definitely been a little bit weird as somebody who's personable, but hey, we adapt. And remarkably, it's the tools that I work with that are helping everyone connect and everyone stay connected as well. When you go out into the world and when you seek new things, when you go into college, there's always going to be ups and downs, ebbs and flows. Whenever you get knocked down or whenever you feel like you're down, get back up and try harder and do different kinds of things. And one of the most important things that I could ever recommend is build relationships. Build relationships and maintain those relationships, because you never know who can help you get you hired later on, who you can email, who you can talk to, because it's those relationships that can make an impact for you later in life. Just sort of in general, DECA was a wonderful organization to get me in line with what people are looking for from a business world, whether you're doing finance, marketing, sports entertainment marketing, technology. All of these events do cater towards the real world conversation of what's happening out there in this space. So don't be afraid to reach out. You can use me as a resource. You can find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I'll be sure to share all of my social media information. And again, check out the places like iMasons, Infrastructure Masons, to see some of the scholarships that we're working on and how we support important concepts like diversity, inclusion, equality, because believe it or not, for Gen Z, including myself, those are really, really important things. And you will get the best kind of talent when you incorporate diversity, inclusion, and equality into what you do every single day. As a final note, for everyone listening, this is kind of a hard one, right? I've never... So this personality you got right here, this was me in high school, right? I'm sure if Mrs. Attic, and it's really hard for me to call her by her first name still. If Mrs. Attic is watching this, my teacher, she's gonna be like, yeah, that's Billy Kleyman. Yeah, that's pretty much the same high energy dude that was just all over the place. And it never hurt me, right? It's a genuine personality. This is me, whether you're gonna get it on video or if you're gonna see it in person. But it's this childhood naivety, right? This open and willingness to learn and make mistakes that has actually endeared me to people, and it's genuine. Never ever lose your ability or your childhood ability to dream. Because when you stop dreaming, you stop innovating, right? Have toys on your desk. Look, I got Wolverine and I've got Iron Man and Captain America behind me. The entire room is actually filled with Marvel characters. My mask is Iron Man. Don't be afraid to be like that, because it's fun, right? And it does inject a certain kind of fun into whatever you do every single day. Your childhood sense of wonder, your ability to dream and innovate is what's going to set you apart regardless of the industry that you work in. Never, ever, ever lose that. I try to dream up of things that are new and innovative every single day, share them with my teams, and see what we can build on that. That's the really exciting part. If that's the one thing that I can tell everybody listening to this to take away, is never lose your childhood sense of wonder, because when you stop dreaming, you stop innovating, and you never ever want to stop doing that in a world that's full of digital wonders. Thanks for listening.